Okay, so I'm going to start this Barchi project from the beginning, doing the setup of the existing space, initially using Google Maps and also the image of the plan that I supplied to you. So beginning a new project in Revit using the architectural template there in the list. And then I want to get the size established straight away. So I'll begin with the plan drawing, and then I'll use the satellite image to match the scale to that. So I'm going to begin just by duplicating this plan view, the ground floor. So straight away I'm just going to duplicate, and then I'll right click on that copy I've got now of the ground floor and rename it and call it ground floor with plan. And then on the insert tab, straight to the image tool and insert the image that I have saved for you. So this is on the P drive in the P drive in interior design, and then in CAD 2. Yeah, and I'm going to go pretty quickly. I'm recording all of this anyway, but yeah, I'll go pretty quickly through this, so don't worry about keeping up with all of it. The image is the one that's called plan, not the one plan X. That's something else. So just plan, and then open, and I'll click to place it, and then you'll see it's going to be not far off the right size actually, but it's definitely not the right size. Yeah, and like I said, I'll just do this first part, and then once the video's done, I'll come around and have a look at whatever you've got. But once you get the basic idea with this method as well, then you'll just need to spend a little while adjusting it. Because what I'm going to do now is draw some grid lines. Because you can see here we've got the size of these, or the spacing of these grids, given as a dimension. And so what you want to be thinking about whenever you're beginning a project like this, where you've got some reference images, so whether it's something you've scanned in, or something you've gotten from the internet, or someone's emailed to you, you're not usually going to know the size. So this has come in at a pretty arbitrary size. It's almost never going to be at the real size, or the size you want it to be. And it's the same when you get drawings that you work with manually, and you need to resize those. So again, we've got these figure dimensions, and that's what you want to always look for when you've got measurements that are written like this. And so now I'm going to draw a grid line. On the architecture tab, you've got the grid tool, and I'm just going to draw I'll draw it going from the bottom to the top, and then over to the right I'll do that again from the bottom to the top, and I'm just going to make the spacing between these two 6700. Okay, so I'll cancel that now, and then I can just select the grid lines there, and you can see that just checking the spacing there, that's the distance. And if I line that up, I'll just select the image now, lining up the first grid on the image. I'm just using the arrow keys on the keyboard here. You can see that that's not the spacing. So this is, you see the first grid line there, the next grid line is further to the right than I want it to be. So just by eye, I'm going to try stretching that, and I should be able to get that pretty close to the right size. Now you can see it's going off the grid line, so I can keep nudging that to adjust the size. So that method is always going to work. You can just keep using trial and error, or essentially just keep adjusting it gradually, and you'll eventually get it to be the right scale. So you can see that's still just maybe a little bit too big. So that method, like I said, always will work. But then another thing to think about is using the scale tool And this is just maybe to save you a bit of time. It's a little bit more, I suppose, more accurate in a way. So with the scale tool, you can just leave it on graphical, and then you can choose a base point, and here I'm going to click on the grid line, and then I'll come across to the grid on the image. So this is the size that I'm beginning with, that's my starting size, and then I'm going to bring it back to the grid line to the left, there we are, and that's my new size. So you can see it's gone straight away to the size that I want. So that method, you might think it's a little bit better. It really is. It's I suppose, a little bit quicker, but it's worth still remembering that you can always just resize it by stretching, and it's really important to understand that method, because you'll see in a moment I'll have to keep fine-tuning it. So again, I've got my grid lines there. If I go back to the other ground floor plan now, you can see that I just have the grid lines without the image, and it's easy there for me to add more grid lines without the image being in the way. Okay, I know the next few are all the same spacing, or all 6700. But if I want to trace the image, it's no problem to switch back and do the drawing there. I might just bring the heads of those grid lines down a bit as well. So I'll go and draw some more grid lines. Again, just tracing roughly over the image, so I know how many I need, but always checking that I've got the dimension between each grid line that is the number I want, not trying to place these over the image, of course, because then the size won't be right. But so here again I've got 6700 again, and then this part's a little bit confusing because you've got the roof line, which is this dashed line, and you have a dimension to that. But I'm going to skip that one for now and go to the next line, which is really the end of the original patio or balcony or paving on that level, or the deck, really, probably a better way to say it. Okay, so that deck area originally was planned to only go to here, but if you've had a look at the photos or been there yourself, you'd see that it's been extended out over that whole level. And so, so again, the level here is, well, that 5100 is only up to the, going to the, sorry, Revit again. Oh yeah, sorry, going to the, just a reference plane instead. So I'm placing a grid line. So I'm just going to draw a reference plane, and then again trace that over the line there at the end of the paving. And oh yeah, and so you can see the dimension there. So I'm going to make that 5100, and then the final one is 10,000. So oh sorry, but at the top, so 7700. So yep, there we are. So that was a total fluke, but that is the right size. So looking back in the ground floor image, you can see there the 6 grid lines, and then just the 2 reference planes, because we don't want grid lines for those ones at the end where you don't have any columns. And then looking at the vertical measurements, sorry, let's close that. The grid lines, again, I'll use to go, in this case, from left to right for A and B. I just want to change that to A. Oops, sorry, it's just freezing up a bit. Okay, so again, looking at that measurement there, 5800 is what it should be, so I'm going to make sure I type that in. And then again, for the dimensions above and below, you should use reference planes. So I'm just going to trace those roughly over the image, and again make sure the dimension is what it says, which is 1700. Okay, so looking back at the ground floor without the image, you can see there I've got the most of the building set out. I've actually got to do the left-hand side still, but you can see there the main floor plate is established there. I do need to add in the one there on the left-hand side that you don't have a dimension for, but I know Brian might have mentioned that one to you. No. So if he hasn't given you a dimension for that, I'm just going to say 1200 or 1250. I can't remember what he's said in the past. I think 1200 is okay. So just for that dimension there that's been chopped off. So again, I'll draw a reference plane there along that side. And just type that in again. Okay, so looking at, again, those that set out, so you've got the grid lines there essentially in the centre, and then the outside of the building set out with those reference planes. And so only now can I get a good idea if that image is the right scale. And so you can see, even though I'd lined up the first two grid lines, that the overall length isn't quite right. So I'm going to just adjust that by stretching, and again using just the corners there, and that's probably going to give me a better overall size than if I try and scale it using the scale tool. And so with a lot of hand-drawn plans and other things, that's going to be the case. I mean, they drew them fairly accurately, but they're never going to be as accurate as something drawn on a computer. And so you can see here these grid lines, they're not quite straight either, and you could rotate this. It is slightly off square as well, so you could rotate it, but there's not really much point in doing that, because you really just want the image there to get a good idea of the layout, especially of those internal walls and other things. You don't need to trace them exactly, as long as you've got those accurate measurements for the grids and the reference planes, and you have those, you obviously have those numbers there on the image that you can use for those. Okay, so that's essentially the starting point to get that set out, and then once you've done that, you can use a satellite image. So that'll be the next thing, getting a satellite image from Google Maps, and then we'll insert that and use that to get true north. But well, I might just finish that video there and then let you have a go at that. So I know if you haven't used grids very much before, take a little while to set that up. I'll give you some time to do that.